understand we need to untangle the web we weaved before we wove before we broke. So, Ms.
Yes,
Woods.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Sarah Woods, County Attorney. So the last action that occurred before you broke for lunch was that you took a vote on a motion to reconsider the matter of the sales tax ordinance from the previous meeting. As I explained, that has the effect of ending the sales tax referendum because it's not possible to meet the statutorily required deadlines. There's a system and certain things that have to be done by a date certain. The board then responded when I heard some expression of wanting to not have that happen. And so in order for the referendum to stay valid, what would need to be done is there would need to be a motion to reconsider the previous motion to reconsider. It's complicated. It needs to be made by someone on the prevailing side, and were that to pass by 3 commissioners, that would have the effect of suspending the reconsideration and would allow the referendum to go forward as was true prior to the previous matter. I hope that's clear.
Commissioner Campy.
I would make a motion to reconsider my vote to reconsider the other vote.
If you would, the sales tax, to reconsider the sales
I
tax.
would make a motion to reconsider my vote to reconsider the sales tax reconsideration.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Are we done with that issue for the moment?
The only thing I was going to say is that to explain to the public is the reason why it causes the delay is because we'd have to re-advertise the hearing. You would not have the opportunity to reconsider it today. We'd have to advertise a new ordinance hearing, and that is what causes the time delay that omits the statutory requirements to meet the deadlines for the referendum.
Not only the advertising requirements, but the submission to the state for the fiscal analysis. It's kind of like a game of dominoes. One affects the other.
Okay. Our next item up to bat is public hearing number 4, legislative public hearing to consider adoption of comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 23-12, the ranch PUD future land use amendment. Anyway, go ahead.
You too.
You too.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Clyde Doolin for the record, and with me is Daphne Schwab.
Schwab.
We have a public hearing for you to consider the future land use map amendment on 3,900 acres from agricultural at 1 unit per 20 acres to rural lifestyle, allowing 1 unit per 20 acres. I think you're familiar with the project and the property. This was presented to the local planning agency on November 16 and presented to the Board of County Commissioners on December 5. It's been considered by state agencies. This is the location of the site. As you can see, here's Bridge Road and here's Canner Highway bisecting a portion of the property. There is rural lifestyle to the north of this property here, and there is a golf course under construction here to the west between the canal and Canner Highway. To the south is the Trailside subdivision and the Sunlight Ranches subdivision. They are both subdivisions with 20-acre lots on them. To the east is land owned by the South Florida Water Management District. So we consider this proposed change generally compatible to the surrounding lands. There are 4 criteria that staff must review when making a recommendation on a proposed future land use map amendment. Staff finds that the first 2 of the 4 criteria have been met. There have been land use changes in the surrounding area, and there is development in the surrounding area that makes this a logical for this proposed future land use map amendment. The sprawl criteria were evaluated and found favorable. The public facilities side of things, there's the same density, so your road impacts, your police, your fire, et cetera, are all pretty much a wash, the same impact with the existing land use and the proposed land use designation. I'm going to go to the map to show you this is the same map we had on the screen previously at the last public hearing, but it gives you some context. This is the proposed ranch property in context with the surrounding area. Here's the Three Lakes, already assigned the rural lifestyle. Here's the Discovery, or Atlantic Fields, already assigned the rural lifestyle future land use designation. And with that, I will end the staff's presentation and recommend approval. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, Mr. Waters.
Good afternoon, Tyson Waters on behalf of the applicant, and we have our affidavit of mailings.
Well, thank you.
Can you set up the PowerPoint?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. So we are here in front of you today for this portion of the hearing process is for the future land use amendment map. Again, as staff mentioned, on November 16th, we were in front of the LPA, who made a recommendation of approval, and on November 5th, we were in front of this board that made a recommendation of approval to transmit it to the state. As staff mentioned in their presentation and their staff report, they found two criteria to move this future land use amendment forward, as well as confirming that in regards to the proliferation of urban sprawl, 13 of the 13 categories were satisfied, and 4 of the 8 in the other list of criterias. And again, we're going to beat this home because I think it's really necessary to appreciate what can be done in agricultural today and what can be done in the rural lifestyle land use designation once that's approved. You can see no density increase, and now we're finally also able to talk about this piece of property. The text amendment was about the county as a whole. With this land use amendment, now we're looking specifically at these 3,900 acres. And we can all agree and we all understand these are environmentally sensitive lands, 650 acres of wetlands right next to the St. Lucie Canal. And I think it would be devastating to develop this under the agricultural land use where you'd have potentially 195 units spread out over 3,900 acres. Also, I think we can all agree putting 195 septic systems would be a terrible thing for the environment. So what this land use designation does, it allows the property owner, and you'll see this in the next hearing, to work with the county to come up with a project that is suitable and appropriate for an environmentally sensitive piece of property like this. That's 3,900 acres in size. I know there's been comments previously during the prior hearing about the South Florida Water Management District's comments. Those comments were received, were responded to. The project team met with district staff on multiple occasions. The district has confirmed that their comments have been addressed. And I believe in your packet, you've got a letter from Drew Bartlett, the executive director of the district, addressing that fact. And I want to call your attention to 2 quotes that I thought were really telling about this. And the first one is, the district appreciates that the private landowner is using their project to improve ground and surface water hydrology on the site and in the wetlands, increase water retention on site, and create natural managed areas around the southern boundaries of the project and adjacent to the districts. And again, the district owns that land to the east of this property. It goes on to end their email by saying the district appreciates the county's consideration of the improvement in hydrology and wetland habitat associated with this project and how that affects the larger surrounding ecosystems. I think right there tells you this is a good land use, this is a good project, and we'd ask for your support, and we're here for any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Hurt?
Yeah. Do you acknowledge that this project is entirely within the Indian River Lagoon natural lands component?
I believe, we haven't confirmed that with the district, but some of the maps certainly show it's part of SERP and the IRL South. And I think the district addresses that fact in their confirmation that this is a good project that they support.
It absolutely precludes us from using this land for Indian River Lagoon South. 3,900 acres that's in the footprint that cannot be used for Indian River Lagoon South.
But I think.
This project is approved.
And I'll defer to some of the other consultants here, but this has never been on the district's radar to acquisition, certainly not on the county's acquisition radar. The only way this land is going to be preserved and protected in furtherance of those goals of water quality, water storage, is through a public-private partnership such as this, that's done through a plan unit development agreement that we all come to terms on and agree to how this is going to be maintained and preserved in the future.
Do you acknowledge that Chapter 4 requires that water and sewer be extended first into the primary urban service boundary?
I think under this land use designation, that's an exception to it, and it's allowed
So
under
that's,
this land use.
is there an acknowledgement that Chapter 4 requires that all extensions of public utilities be inside the urban service boundary?
I am not aware of that, no.
Then why do you have to have a comp plan amendment that's necessary to make an exception to that if the rule doesn't exist?
But there's an existence of having it in the urban service district. But there's a code today, this land use allows that outside. So I would disagree with you that it's only allowed within the urban service district.
And I haven't seen any evidence that the private landowner is using their project to improve ground and surface water hydrology on the site and in the wetlands. There's absolutely nothing in this project that shows that there's going to be an improvement.
Well, I appreciate that, and when we come back forward to the next hearing with the plan unit development agreement, I think we'll have the consultants up here to discuss that in more detail.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, it's sort of a follow-on to the commentary. Somehow it gets lost on all this, and what was lost, I think, even with some of our public speakers this morning, there was discussion about the love of hunting and fishing out on western lands. Well, last time I checked, this is private property, and I suspect that if anybody were on those lands doing anything without approval from the private property owner, they would be asked to perhaps leave. The second part of that is that whether it is or isn't in the IRL South footprint, it's still private property. We, local government nor the state, have the ability to go onto this property and mandate that someone does something with their property until it's acquired. And last time I checked, that wasn't happening. The last part I would say, and this was part of I think a little bit of Tyson's presentation, or it was part of Clyde's presentation. The fact that 10 years ago, when this was changed and all the density was shifted to the north side of 76, there were 600 units that were going to be built on the north side. Total. I mean, we're talking 200 units on the whole 34 and 3,900 acres, whatever the total is. And I hope that kind of doesn't get lost. Now, the Barneys absolutely stepped forward and said, we're removing that because they didn't think that was the right process for what they had gotten done years before that. But this could have looked a whole lot different than it's going to look today. And I think we have ended up in a much better place with where this applicant has taken us thus far. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. With that, we have some public comment. Gigi Dubé, followed by Mr. Greg Braun.
Thank you again for listening to me. I do appreciate it. Again, I go back to the concept of rural lifestyle. Ranchettes don't have golf courses. They don't have convenience stores. They don't have cottages. They don't have dormitory housing. I don't know how you do math, but in my book, that increases population. That also increases the need that that group of population would need, such as the services that we have that have been identified in the comprehensive plan. A PUD by itself is a very reasonable approach to land planning. But you have to consider the acceleration of development that is caused by making this change versus what we have already done 10 years ago was when we really did an in-depth comprehensive plan change that evaluated all of the services that are needed and provided in the urban services district. Those are the things like the hospitals, the schools, the sewers. It's not just saying, yes, physically we can provide the service, but how are you going to plan to build the infrastructure? An amendment for the comprehensive plan is needed. That's what gives the transparency. That is what gives us the trust, and it gives us the confidence in what you vote to do. We're not getting that. Everybody here is asking for it. You just can't keep increasing the number of rural lifestyle developments without evaluating those needs. We're going to be like Boca Raton. This isn't what the people here want. You have Williamson Cattle that have said, and they're a large ranch holder, that we need to identify conservation areas. They're willing to work with us, the people in the agricultural community. Why isn't the commission looking at this and working with them? We're asking you, we're begging you. Why aren't you listening to us? I mean, I've been in land planning. I started in 1976 with the Area Planning Board. I work with South Florida Water Management District. I've been an elected official. I understand what you're going through, but you're failing us. Thank you.
Mr. Braun, followed by Tammy Simone.
I don't think she's here anymore.
Semino, sorry.
Good afternoon. Greg Braun, Executive Director of the Guardians of Martin County. And I want to assure you that when I speak before the commission, it is at the direction of the Board of Directors of the Guardians of Martin County. I don't take these positions lightly. I do so at the direction of the board to implement the policies and the procedures that they adopt. The Guardians Board is not influenced by development. The positions that they take are shared by the community, as you heard from at least half of the speakers this morning who expressed their concerns about water quality and growth management. Yes, we do rely on the expertise of Thousand Friends of Florida for growth management, things that are beyond our capabilities. It was failed to mention that the recommendation from the LPA on this project was that there be a water quality monitoring program as a condition of approval of this project. The Guardians feel that it is inappropriate for this project to be able to commit over $800,000 in various community benefit projects and not dedicate even a single dollar to doing water quality monitoring that would assure our residents and your constituents that the discharges off of their property are not going to exacerbate the quality in the receiving body. It's nuts. The vast majority of the people who spoke this morning have nothing to gain by this project, nothing to financially gain for it. They're in it because they care about the county and they care about water quality.
Tammy Simone, she's here.
Semino.
Semino? Yeah. Terry Gibson, followed by Brandon Tucker.
Waving you off.
Oh, you're done? Mr. Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again for the opportunity to speak. Brandon Tucker, Executive Director of Florida Landowners Association. Commissioner Hetherington, thank you for defining sprawl for us earlier. That is a correct definition of sprawl. I had the opportunity some years ago, I won't tell you how long ago it was, but I graduated from the Florida State University with a degree in real estate. And they taught us what sprawl was back then. Yeah, and I want to congratulate the staff of Martin County, the LPA, this Board of County Commissioners. If there's ever been thoughtful, diligent planning that has ever been done on a project, when I first heard about it, I said, this is a project that everybody's going to embrace, but here we are. But this is a tremendous project that provides tremendous benefit to Martin County, to the environment. FLA fully supports this project. Once again, I want to congratulate and thank our great county staff here in Martin County that is probably one of the most tried and tested county staffs anywhere in the state of Florida. And once again, Martin County, we talk about the Martin County difference. This is the Martin County difference. This is that platinum standard that you can go anywhere in the state and say, we're from Martin County. This is how we do it. We do it with excellence. We do it right. So I would congratulate our staff on their hard work, the applicant as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. That was our last speaker forum, so back to the board.
One more. Carol Ann Leonard.
Oh.
Yes, I do agree with Gigi and Greg. I think we need water monitoring. The issue is by passing PH3 and PH4, you're opening the door for continual requests by developers to build these large, multiple structure developments, more golf courses, more strain on infrastructure and services. I don't want to see this expansion of the rural lifestyle. I think it's a terrible idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Hetherington.
Pending any further public comment, I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion. Oh, Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'm not going to support the motion. Chapter 2 of the comprehensive plan details 4 criteria that must be met in order to make a recommendation of approval for a comprehensive plan amendment. First is past changes in land use designations in the general area make the proposed use logical and consistent with these uses and adequate public services are available. No. The second one is growth in the area in terms of development of vacant land, redevelopment, and availability of public services has altered the character of the area such that the proposed request is now reasonable and consistent with area land use characteristics. It does not meet that either. Third, the proposed change would correct what would otherwise appear to be an inappropriately assigned land use designation. Certainly doesn't meet that one. And finally, the proposed change would fulfill a public service that enhances the health, safety, or general welfare of county residents. It doesn't meet any of the requirements for approval of a comprehensive plan amendment. It is the definition of urban sprawl. I will read you the definition of urban sprawl from the comprehensive plan. Urban sprawl is defined as a development pattern characterized by low-density, automobile-dependent development with either a single use or multiple uses that are not functionally related, requiring the extension of public services and facilities in an inefficient manner, 6,000 feet from the urban service boundary, and failing to provide a clear separation between urban and rural uses. Man, this is textbook urban sprawl.
Commissioner Smith.
I'm not finished.
I'm sorry.
So this is what the proposed uses are. There's on the southern and the northern parcels. The first is it will consist of golf courses, golf cottages, pro shops, administrative offices, club and range houses, event facilities, residential multi-slip docking facilities, food and beverage service, maintenance utility facilities, storage areas, restrooms, practice holes and driving ranges, spa and recreational facilities, and similar amenities. The other is 2 18-hole championship golf courses, clubhouse, range house, cart barn, pro shops, long and short game practice facilities, championship length practice holes, par 3 course, 24 golf cottages, and other amenities. Plus 175 homes, 175 guest houses, 54 golf cottages, 234 employee dormitory beds. Does that sound like agricultural land use to anyone in this room? Of course it doesn't. It is so incompatible with the agricultural land use and all of the uses around it. This is destroying the comprehensive plan, one harmful amendment after another. It's inconsistent with the state and federal mandates for Everglades restoration. A resounding no from me and from the vast majority of Martin County residents.
Commissioner Smith.
Clyde, just for the record and just hear us all say it, how many years have you been doing this?
Food growth management, about 25.
And what is your background?
I have a bachelor's degree from Florida Atlantic University. I've studied and been examined by the American Institute of Certified Planners and have the AICP designation.
And so it is your professional opinion that the information that you have given us today and opined on and said that staff recommends approval is accurate?
Yes.
That was one thing I wanted to get on the record. Number two, I think it was stated earlier that ranchettes didn't allow this to happen. Was this ranchettes?
This proposed land use designation does not provide for ranchettes. The existing land use designation does provide for 20-acre ranchettes.
But it's not the ranchettes that we think of as Palm City,
Palm City Farms?
farms.
It's similar in nature, just they would be larger.
But are not subdivided into or platted in the 1920s into ranchettes that we refer to as, that I think we refer to as ranchettes.
No, they're not the same as the Palm City Farms 5-acre ranchettes that were platted in the early 1900s.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passes 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Moving on to public hearing quasi judicial number 1, public hearing to consider the request for rezoning approval to plan unit development through a planned unit development zoning agreement for the ranch project, including a master plan and phasing plan. Mr. Peter Walden. Is there any interveners?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Did you turn in all of your?
All of the notices and receipts were turned in at the LPA.
Do we have any ex parte? Commissioner Smith?
You and they're filed.
I do, and they're filed.
I do, and they've been filed. Commissioner Campy?
Yes, I do, and I've been filed.
Commissioner Hurd?
If I have any, they've been filed.
Swear in the witness.
Okay, everybody that is going to give some testimony, please stand up and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Walden?
Thank you, sir. I'd like to start by turning in a copy of the agenda item and my work history as Exhibit 1. And good afternoon, Commissioners. Peter Walden, Deputy Growth Management Director. Now that there is a future land use designation of rural lifestyle on the Calusa Ranch property, all development pertaining to any rural lifestyle land use has to be done with a PUD zoning agreement. And this is that application. This is a request for a PUD zoning agreement and master phasing site plan. It is requested by JWA Ranch LLC. and is requested by Urban Design Studios and Tyson J. Waters. This is a location map of the property. You've seen this a couple times today already. I won't spend too much time on it, but it's a couple miles west of 95 and the Turnpike, adjacent to the C-44 canal, and it straddles both sides of the Canner Highway in Stewart. This is a closer aerial of the project. It has been used for agricultural purposes for many years. There have been ornamental tree farms on the property and mostly used for cattle grazing. One thing to notice about this property that's a little unique is that a lot of the wetlands that dot the property are surrounded by upland native habitat. This is a good thing for development because it makes for special preserve areas that are especially good for habitat. This is the title page of a 10-page master plan. The data will show you that all of the residential development on the property is on 5% of the property. The property itself is just a quarter of a square mile less than the city of Stewart, to give you some scale as to how big it is. And there is, so the residential development takes up about 5% of the property. All of the golf courses and amenities take up another 10% of the property. So that leaves roughly 85% of the property undeveloped or as lakes. And most of that is in preserves and agricultural uses. This is a better view of the master plan. You can see all of the hatching. This diagonal hatching here is all agricultural use, which will remain. And basically is all that you will see from Canner Highway and Bridge Road of the project. These darker shaded areas are the preserves, and you can see they incorporate a lot of the wetland areas. Another thing to note on the plan is that all of the wetlands incorporated into the golf areas have an additional 25-foot buffer that is unique to golf. Anywhere else in the county, you can put a principal building or structure within 10 feet of a wetland. You can build a road within 5 feet of a wetland, but golf, you have to have no irrigated turf or anything that requires irrigation or turf or any kind of pesticides or anything like that within 25 feet of the wetlands. So that's another safeguard that is inherent to golf. This is a phasing plan of the property. You can see that most of the property is going to be incorporated into Phase 1. Therefore, the PAMP, the Preserve Area Management Plan, will be mostly incorporated into that Phase 1 final site plan. Phase 1 entails mostly just golf and amenities and the restoration of the agricultural lands and preserves. Phase 2 will have a couple pods of residential inherent to it, and Phase 3 will have the residential docking facility and some more lots to the northwest of the property. Talk a little bit about the preserve areas. There is a preserve area management plan that will be implemented with Phase 1. All of the upland and wetland preserve areas are demarcated on the master plan, so even though the PAMP isn't in place, we have the environmental assessments in all of the areas already site planned for those preserves. And also, we are going to implement, the applicant is going to implement a tree clearing and mitigation program to ensure that as much of the native material that is useful can be either relocated or saved on site. Talk a little bit about the public benefits for the project. When staff analyzes public benefits, we look at what the developer is getting and kind of do request benefits commensurate with that. So in this case, the developer is able to cluster the development out there, which is both a benefit to them and what we consider a benefit to the site, because if you didn't cluster development, you pose the possibility of fragmenting all of those great preserves that are going to be available out there. And the other thing is the extension of water and sewer service to the property is the other benefit to the developer. And again, that's a two-edged thing because of all of the talk about water quality in the area. It would be a shame not to have anybody hooked up to water and sewer in that area. So we think that the benefits that the developer are asking are commensurate with the public benefits of those already. But in addition to that, they are proposing to spend up to $750,000 redesigning and reconstructing the South Fork High School short course. They're also going to provide educational and mentoring opportunities as far as turf grass management goes on their property. They're also going to extend $50,000 contribution to the Banner Lake Restoration Project and cleanup. And they're also going to provide 20 acres of land for the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, and also contribute another $50,000 towards the engineering and planning costs of that facility. So this was before the local planning agency on April 18th. The board did recommend approval of the application. They also, with that recommendation, came a ask that water quality monitoring would be put in place. Additional documentation of water quality is a good thing. Perhaps it'd be better to implement it at the final site plan when the stormwater dynamics and mechanics are in place, so we can better understand the nuances of the stormwater project, but that is up to the board's consideration. Development review staff have found the application to comply with all applicable regulations and the comprehensive growth management plan as detailed in the staff report. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the PUD zoning agreement. And we would move that the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board adopt the resolution approving the rezoning from A2 Agricultural District to Planned Unit Development and approve the Ranch PUD zoning agreement, including the master site plan and phasing plan. That concludes my presentation. Be glad to answer any questions.
Commissioner Smith.
Well, and I know you also submitted your work history, but can you tell it to us for the public to hear?
Yeah, I'm a development growth management development director. I oversee most of the development process for the county. As far as growth management is concerned, I've been with the county for about 8 years now. I'm an AICP certified planner. Got my education at FAU, like Clyde did. So,
We don't have to hear about the other two. That's great.
excuse me?
Hear about the other two.
No, the other two. I'm sorry.
One that's up towards Gainesville and the one that's up further north.
Oh no, just FAU. This guy. Yeah.
So again, in your professional opinion, and I know that you just stated your recommendation, but you agree with the recommendation and that your staff's work on this is accurate and you agree?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Waters.
Oh. Here, I'm sorry. I'll tee you up there. You got it? Yep. Good.
Good afternoon again, Tyson Waters on behalf of the applicant, and it's with great excitement that we're finally here in front of you with this plan unit development agreement and master site plan. Again, as staff noted, what our request is to rezone the property from A2 to PUD agreement, and then approval of a master site plan and phasing plan. This has been a lengthy process. It's been about 1.5 years since the date we finished. We submitted the first draft of this proposal to the date we're here now. So it's a lot of back and forth with staff to work out both a site plan and agreement that's best suited for this piece of property. As you know, current zoning on the property is A2. And again, stressing the fact of what we can do on this property. We can do single-family homes, we can do golf courses, golf cottages, all those amenities, plus a whole lot of other things, including a couple of industrial uses you see there at the bottom. What we're asking today is to rezone this to a plan unit development agreement. And this is the site plan. 175 residential lots over approximately 195 acres, 2 golf courses, clubhouse and amenities, golf cottages, over 1,200 acres of agricultural land, wetlands of almost 650 acres that will be preserved and restored, 324 acres of upland preserves, and 91% over 3,500 acres of open space. And I think these next few slides are interesting to see exactly where those specific uses are located. The agricultural uses are all lined up adjacent to and around both Bridge Road and Cantor Highway. So as you continue to drive down those roads, you're going to see the same thing you today, that agricultural and rural feel. Our wetlands and uplands, 1,200 acres of preserve areas, comprised, as you can see here, 650 acres of wetlands, 250 acres of wetland buffers, and over 320 acres of upland preserves. The golf courses, we'll have 2 golf courses and associated amenities. And the residential lots, three pods of residential lots over a very small footprint, again, less than 200 acres. And what's also unique about this development and where these residential lots are located, they're actually away from the golf courses. You know, typically when you see a golf course, the houses are right up on the golf course. These are pushed away with large buffers, so even those residential lots are going to get that rural feel, where they're adjacent to wetlands, they're adjacent to uplands, they're adjacent to this agricultural use. And again, we've got clubhouse and other recreational amenities that are going to be limited to residents and club members. Another thing that we're proposing as part of this site plan, large buffer areas, 50-foot buffers along both Bridge Road and Cantor Highway, keeping with natural grade again, so you have that rural feel as you drive down both Cantor Highway and Bridge Road. And then internally, 100-foot buffers to separate some of those internal uses. And at this point, I'd like to introduce and ask Toby Overdorf to come up here to talk about some of the environmental public benefits.
Thank you, Tyson. For the record, Toby Overdorf, Engineering, Design, and Construction Vice President in charge of the Environmental Division up there. Just wanted to run through some of the environmental benefits associated with the project. As you look at your slide here, first of all, looking at water quality, that's been a major discussion over and over again today. As we look at some different items here, number one, you're taking water right out of the C-44. You're filtering it on the property. You're running it through these enhanced and renewed wetlands, if you will. And then, right now, when water goes off the property, it's according to some old stormwater standards. Now, we're going to be on the new stormwater standards. We are working through this process so that you're actually reducing phosphorus and nitrogen within the C-44. You're reducing that overall so that you're now in compliance with some future regulations that are happening. And if you look at the bottom left bullet point, where you're looking at the St. Lucie BMAP, you are now required in Martin County to address the total maximum daily loads associated with that particular BMAP. And part of that is also going to be looking at the nutrient loads with septic and sewer conversions, if you will, throughout the area. And here we're going right to sewer, so that you have that nutrient will never actually be introduced there. And that's with some legislation that was recently passed that, well, I actually wrote. So moving on to that, we're looking at water quantity as well for the next slide here. In this, we're taking, again, water out of the C-44. Literally, if you look at this slide, almost 3 billion gallons. This is a permitted water withdrawal. This is water that's coming out. We have the permits associated with it, going to be using the irrigation, and this water will never go downstream in that same quantity. Is there going to be some discharge? Certainly, but it's not going to be that 3 billion gallons. That water is going to be utilized on the property, and therefore we're going to rehydrate wetlands with that. We're looking at ways that we can reduce overall discharge that's coming out of this property, and therefore taking some water from the C-44 and almost acting similar to an STA, if you will. Then we look at wetland restoration. I have to be honest, this is a project that I don't have to do, I get to do it. That's how I look at this project. This is a really interesting, incredible project for me, because now I'm working with the landowner, working with other people that are on this particular project. I really get to work in some areas that I haven't done since my graduate work, and doing some restoration stuff. we're restoring entire sluways. We're restoring these wetlands that have been hindered by basically some over drainage, if you will, in the past, where these agricultural canals did exactly as they were permitted to do, exactly as they should do in these in the grazing areas. But now we're rehydrating. We're bringing back these wetlands, and some of the plants that have been dormant for years are going to be popping. And I'm really excited about that opportunity, and also being able to bring in some native plants that haven't necessarily been in some of these areas before, and restoring these buffers. And finally, really working with the surrounding area, we're going to be rehydrating. And as you saw with the letter from Executive Director Bartlett, who looked at the fact that we're rehydrating these wetlands, is actually going to serve as a benefit to these off-site areas as well. And then finally, again, as we look at the habitat preservation, 39% of the upland habitat is going to be preserved. This is well above the 25%. We're looking at community farming. We're looking at other ways that we're conserving, looking at energy and water conservation on the site. And frankly, the other part in the comprehensive exotic removal that we're going to be doing on this site, it eliminates the seed source for the surrounding properties. And that also means the property is owned by the state, owned by others, so that you no longer have that Brazilian pepper being carried by birds off and planting somewhere else, or you have the Oberl climbing fern that is being distributed throughout our region, which decimates all kinds of other lands that are out there. So that being said, I'm really excited to be a part of this project, working on this project, and I think we're going to see some incredible benefits as we move forward. And I'll turn it back over to Tyson for some economics. Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh, yeah, please.
Mr. Oberl, thank you very much. Just kind of curious, your work around the state and your knowledge of these kind of systems, have you ever got to work on a project of this scale, of this type?
Of this scale, no. Worked on some other pretty exciting projects, whether it be the restoration of the Kissimmee River or looking at some private areas, wetland restoration with mitigation banks or things along those lines. But primarily, this has been a really exciting opportunity for me.
So, in your professional experience, again, would you say that this sort of does set a standard of if you were to do something to benefit large tracts of land that otherwise either would stay fallow or would stay in the former agricultural use that they were, and through no fault of the landowner, designed probably 100 years ago at this point to drain the land and make it ranch land. Does there come anything close to this?
So there are things that may come close to this, Commissioner, but the commitment by certainly not in Martin County, number one. The commitment by the landowner and their team, I've never seen that before from the transformation of land. And so I hope that answers your question.
Just curious, thank you.
I think Commissioner Hurd has something.
Yeah. Where are the methodologies, assumptions, data sources, and analyses that will be used to assess whether this development program will have adverse impacts to Indian River Lagoon South?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. That actually will be coming through as we go through the process of the environmental resource permit. All of that information is going to be available not only to yourself, but also the general public.
So we're approving that without having that knowledge?
According to state law, you do not have to move ahead with a ERP in order to get this approval here.
So we don't know whether it's going to have a deleterious impact upon Indian River Lagoon South and therefore Everglades restoration?
I apologize, ma'am. I'm sorry. I think your staff has done a great review of the entire project thus far. We're going to be going through the final site plan approval as well. And also, there'll be coordination back and forth between whether it be the Water Management District, DEP, and other agencies, I'm sure, with Martin County, as they normally do.
And has there been an analysis of stormwater management needs and potential flooding issues?
That will also be comprehensively done under the Environmental Resource Program, or Environmental Resource Permitting, which is through the Water Management District.
So Martin County doesn't have any say in that?
They certainly have some say in it, and that coordination is going back and forth. And in fact, part of the review that we had to do for this is within your staff report that I believe is on your computer in front of you.
And will those things come back to us for approval or for consideration?
In final site plan, you're going to be seeing some items that are coming back to you as well.
So all these things will be addressed at that time in detail.
I did not say all these things. I said there'll be some items that come back depending on the phase of that final site plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyson Waters again for the record. And before I get to the economic analysis and the fiscal impact, because there's been so much discussion today and in prior hearings about the South Florida Water Management District's comments, I do want to reiterate and read into the record what Drew Bartlett said in his email from last Friday. As the county considers the future of the parcel, the important part of the natural land's footprint is captured in wetland restoration, which serves to retain water on the property instead of draining that water to the Central and South Florida flood control system. The district, as an adjacent landowner, is also interested in how this comp plan amendment, again, we were talking about the future land use with this, but it's certainly relevant as part of this plan unit development agreement, affects the larger Palomar hydrology as the headwaters to the Loxahatchee. The district appreciates that the private landowner is using their project to improve ground and surface water hydrology on the site and in the wetlands, increase water retention on site, and create natural managed areas around the southern boundaries of the property and adjacent to the districts. The comprehensive Everglades restoration plan does not impose restrictions on private property rights or in the local zoning and comprehensive plan decisions. Therefore, the county is not legally constrained by CERT plans for making decisions regarding private property using their comprehensive planning process. The district appreciates the county's consideration of the important hydrology and wetland habitat associated with this project and how that affects the surrounding ecosystem. So moving to the fiscal benefits, as part of our PUD application, we had to provide an economic analysis, and this is just one snippet of that analysis. And today, it's agricultural land, so taxed at pennies on the dollar, where you can see in just a few years, that estimated taxable property value is at $230 million, and in 30 years, estimated to be over $3 billion. So certainly that financial impact from the proposed use of this property. So we've talked about the environmental public benefits and the fiscal public benefits, and now I'd like to ask Tom McNicholas to come up here to talk about some of the community public benefits the applicant is proposing.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate your words earlier saying that this is one of the best projects that you've seen and come in front of Martin County, because that was the goal of the Bax family before they purchased this land. It's always been the goal of the Barney family that's owned this land for 25 years. The Ranch PUD public benefits, first focusing on the Pine School, and the applicant will provide a kind services up to $50,000 towards the environmental restoration and cleanup of Banner Lake. I think we all know Banner Lake. This property is not even located anywhere near the ranch. So what our intention is how do we help other communities and other goals, whether it's environmental, education, and we're trying to check all those boxes, and I think we're doing a great job doing so. That restoration is going to help the natural flow of groundwater in the area and also help the Loxalucy project, which is big for Hobe Sound, Bridge Road, and that entire area. So we thank them for that contribution. Benny Caffrey, head of school, spoke to you earlier today. We're hitting the high schools. As the crow flies, South Fork High School, it has been sometimes referred to as the redheaded stepchild of Martin County with the schools, has a lot of property out there. They've had a lot of problems with properties, flooding, and with the golf course. This is why we're connecting with them. It's a natural fit with South Fork being right there next to the ranch. So obviously what we're doing is the reconstruction of the South Fork High School short course and oversee that project all in kind by some of the best golf course designers in the world. More importantly, the mentoring opportunities for turf grass maintenance and the classes for ranch while the ranch is being built. These kids from South Fork will be Zooming live and going to the property to help actually build these world-class golf courses. A first in the opportunity, maybe a first in the country. And then we have the on-job training opportunities for enrolled students at South Fork. This isn't something we're doing just to gain approvals. This is something the Bax family has been doing for 22 years in New York at Friars Head. Proof of that is Meg Kios, who's here in the audience. I think she's in the third row. She is a 24-year-old employee who's now here working in Martin County. She started mentoring at Friars Head at the age of 15. She just moved to Martin County and Palm Beach County about a year and a half ago from the University of Florida. So this is a program that they're going to implement at South Fork and maybe some of the other high schools upon its success, because they've been doing it successfully other places. We're also going to develop and implement the Youth Caddy program in partnership with Western Golf Association Evans Scholars Program. Currently, Friars Head and the Bax family has 4 Evans Scholars that are coming through Friars Head now. That will be the first kind of its program here in Martin County. The closest other one is in Palm Beach County. Those kids are all on full scholarships to colleges around the countries in the Northeast. So we're looking forward to that partnership with South Fork High School and some of the other high schools. Then we went to the higher level. We've had a problem in the county forever with University of Florida and IFAS that they haven't had a proper home where they can grow. With Martin County's agriculture and the farming programs that we have here in Martin County, I think we could all agree that that could be done better. We stumbled upon this opportunity when having lunch with them, with the Farm Bureau, and we discovered that they were looking for and trying to figure out where to take maybe 3 acres in Indiantown. So yeah, when you work hard, you get lucky. We got lucky on this, and we discovered this issue, so we invited them to take at least 20 acres. That obviously is going to be a lease of more than 20 to 20 plus acres of land for at least 40 years at $1 a year. We're also going to give them $40 at the end of the day, so their lease is paid for the next 40 years. So University of Florida, we all know what they do. We're going to contribute also the in-kind services up to $50,000 for their soft costs. So they can actually make that dream come to fruition with the engineering and the design costs to move right in as soon as possible. All of these programs are not starting next year. These programs are starting tomorrow. There are also some other off-site projects that are not in this PUD that we're not going to go into in detail today, but I think the Bax family has been known in this county already for 2 years on their contributions with the chambers. And when I mean contributions, I mean they show up in person. They know our constituents, they know our residents, even in Rocky Point and Salerno and Hope Sound and Jensen Beach, because they've done that work for the last 36 months. I want to quickly introduce Ken Bax, who just has a couple words to say with you all, and appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak. I'm Ken Baxt, and like everyone who's come here to speak today, I and my family appreciate how special Martin County is, and we are 100% committed to preserving its beauty. We've now been working on the ranch for almost 3 years, and conservation and preservation have been critical and at the forefront of our minds throughout our planning process. We're really excited about the community partnerships that we've made to date, and we look forward to forging many more in the years to come for the benefit of Martin County and its residents. My wife Suzanne and I and our 3 children love it here, and we look forward to making this our home. Thank you.
It's been said a couple times today, but it's true. Martin County is different. I have a bumper sticker in my office that says Martin County. It's just different here. We've had multiple hearings over a number of hours. This project is 3,900 acres. 175 units, over 1,200 acres of preserve area, over 3,500 acres of open space, a list of public benefits second to none. This is an opportunity. I think when you talk to the people behind me, there's a level of excitement that many of us haven't seen with other projects. But this is it. This is an opportunity, and we'd ask for your support, and we'd ask for your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Public comment?
Yep. All right, Ms. Dubak, followed by Terry Gibson again.
Thank you again for listening to me. My understanding is this is the second of 3 parts of a quasi-judicial hearing, and that the LPA has heard the first part. No. Okay. Well, my question then is, the LPA did look at this development, and they did talk about making a recommendation for water quality monitoring. I don't know if that should be part of your consideration. On the fiscal analysis that is in the application process, I find that from a county perspective that it's dramatically lacking, because all it really does is do a pro rata spreadsheet allocation of what the revenues generated by this project are versus the current millage rate. So that leaves out a huge part for the county to do, and that has to do with the comprehensive planning elements. And again, that has to do with infrastructure and services that we now have and have planned for in the urban service district. And as we know, this development is going to have people living there who are going to need those services. And, people have talked about hospitals, 6-month waits to get in to see a doctor. You need to get a pool service company. You need to get all the small businesses. That's part of the thing that you do when you're evaluating your comprehensive plan. We feel that the county is letting us down by not doing that. It's certainly not transparent from these hearings on rural lifestyle on any of that being addressed by the county. I do think that this project has promised some really wonderful public benefit. The donations that they've made, I think, are fabulous. I think that there's going to be a lot of use, and that's going to be a long-term legacy that this family is going to be giving the county. But your legacy is preserving the Mount Martin County difference. And that difference is the conservation areas. Are those going to be actually set aside permanently as conservation areas? And how is our infrastructure going to be planned for all of the residents of the county, not just this development, for the future, so that we know that we have the things that we need for our day-to-day life? Thank you.
Terry Gibson, followed by Carol Ann Leonard.
Thank you for the time. You know what the most powerful word in the English language is, or in any language? Yes. It's not no, it's yes. And one of the things I appreciate most about this project is that it has the opportunity to smooth over a lot of the divisiveness in our community. It weds the past of agriculture and keeps it present with the ranch, all these things that my family knows so much about. And with a place that people want to be, but in a rural setting, in a setting where they're close to nature. The lady that spoke before me, I'm sorry I didn't catch her name. She asked why the agricultural community doesn't appear to be wanting to work that much with the county. I would say that I don't own property in agriculture in Martin County, but I would say there is a willingness, except that there's a hesitance because all we do is get attacked. That's all we do. I mean, granted, the attacks land about as hard as spitballs, but it takes time and it's annoying and it's divisive. So what I really see in this project, I'm saying yes to this project as a citizen because it does that. It's putting people back together in a natural environment where we aren't so separated from where our food comes from and the ground that we actually should be walking on instead of concrete. And we've heard of all the benefits and everything else earlier, but I just urge you to go ahead and say yes to this project today, and I really would encourage the folks that are the applicant and their team to keep telling the story too, because we need to show that it's the really great things like this are possible for Martin County if we work together instead of hurling insults at each other. Thank you.
When it's done, when everyone's done. Oh. Ms. Leonard is followed by Tammy Simino. I don't know why.
Despite some good things, too much is just being built on this land, not just 157 or possibly 195 homes. The plans say both ground and surface water will be used for irrigation. Now, per Mr. Overdorf, 33 billion gallons of C44 water. I don't know, but could this be too much use of natural waters? What about nitrogen, phosphorus, maybe blue-green algae? As I understand, some of the agriculture areas empty into the C-44, and that would be going into wetlands and other areas on the ranch. There was blue-green algae in another water area. I think it was the Blue Cypress Lake, and that didn't even come from Lake O. Could those things be problematic? I'm especially concerned about the boat slips on the C-44. Are all the other water management options to be implemented as safe as they can be? I am wanting water quality management mandated. I'm glad the ranch is open to considering that. Thank you.
Ms. Semino?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'll be brief, but I felt it needed to be said. I'm a resident of Martin County for over 28 years. Own a restaurant, live, kids, raised them, grandkids on the way, enjoy every single aspect of Martin County. And we had a previous person speak this morning and say that you need to have your voter registration, you need to this. That is just so ridiculous to me, because they moved here because they liked it too, because of the decisions and the vision and the power and the passion that your staff, you guys all have, as well as the residents of Martin County. But I think it's a little iffy because they throw these words around as if they are the end of the world. The urban service boundary is a boundary. It's not a piece of magical things that you walk through and all of a sudden you lose gravity. It's an urban service boundary. It's a boundary. The comp plan is dictated by the state to be looked at every 7 years because you have to grow with your community. It's not that everything is carved in stone and can never be done. We have an obligation to you to let you know what we need. Food, clean water, jobs. We have so many wonderful things that have come. The customs, the Indian Street Bridge. You ask all the residents that were against that, how many of them go back and forth across that bridge today? It's easy to say no. It is harder to say yes. And I just want to thank you for taking the time, and your legacy is going to be your vision. The way that you have brought Martin County along, and with your decision to pass this, the future is endless. I also think one thing in closing, it's really unfair because you hear all the people complaining about the traffic and all that. You guys get a bad rap. Communities are being annexed almost every single day. But then when they think of what's this traffic and all these housing units and stuff going on, it's not Martin County. We do it differently. But you're getting the rap. I just thought that needed to be put on record. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Campy?
Well, we're coming to the end, the third agenda item of a long day. I appreciate the folks that came out to participate in the process, both for and against. That's how we do it here. Every speaker brings something to the table that requires the five of us to take it into consideration. Some of the things I agree with, some I don't. I don't think bringing golf courses to the community is a bad thing. Obviously, I have a bias towards golf. People have heard me say my father is a professional golfer, 87 years old, but golf in communities is not a bad thing. Now, some people say, well, it won't benefit me. I won't ever get an opportunity to play there. Well, that's not how it necessarily works. But if we're going to create and protect green spaces, whether you think this is a valid protection of a green space or not, it is a green space. And I'm so thankful that the residents will have an opportunity once again to decide if they want to tax themselves, as they have in the past. You saw those maps that were shown earlier that had large, large pink boxes across from north to south on the Martin County map. Through the work of Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Hurd many years ago, and other commissioners that came before, the three of us here in the middle, those lands are protected forever. They are protected from decisions that Tallahassee might make, no disrespect, decisions that Tallahassee might make on what our future developments should look like, because they're protected and purchased. But short of the county, through taxing itself or other clever financial means purchasing these properties, someone like the Basque family and the ranch project come forward and put 4,000 acres aside, yeah, it'll have golf course amenities and the buildings and the things that you mentioned in the laundry list on 4,000 acres. It's not like you're building, the Treasure Coast Mall. So I'm pleased that you've picked Martin County to do this. You could have done it anywhere. And probably in other counties, it might have been an easier process. I'm glad that you put a team together that is made up of majority, if not nearly all, of local talent and representation from the community. They live here and know us the best. I appreciate our staff that once again delivers a product that they professionally believe in under some very difficult circumstances. And I think that this project will go along with the other projects that have been approved in not only creating a wonderful reputation for Martin County as really a premier location for golf. And people say, well, I don't play golf. Well, they will employ hundreds and hundreds of people, most likely locals, but not all, from every level, from the person that's going to maintain the golf course and the golf carts and serve inside the clubhouse and the other amenities, to executives and high-level management will all have an opportunity to have a new place of employment. And the 175 homes on 4,000 acres, I think potentially as residents of Martin County, we stopped realizing what's happening just to the north of us or just as quickly to the south of us, where they're putting up 10,000 houses at a time. And we're talking about 175 homes here. And then I know for whatever reason, people don't want to attribute the benefit of a tax base, but it has to count. And when we go through the difficult process of creating and preparing budgets and try to protect our residents from increases that are difficult for anyone to absorb, especially currently, this will be another opportunity in the future for us to enhance our tax base with not a tremendous amount of draw on systems, not none, but 175 homes compared to what could have been 200, or if it was 600 that it was going to be originally. I do remember that. 2010, I was here then. I remember that project. So in my mind, this is a nice project. I get that some people will disagree with it because they don't want anything to happen here. But as one of the people that gets to sit up here and have the privilege of representing not just the people in this room from the morning till now or that spoke, we represent every resident of the county. And I don't believe in my heart that when people come here or my colleagues say that, all 160,000 residents in Martin County are furious that this is happening, I would personally disagree. And I think that many people that don't have the opportunity to speak out either in public or in emails or any other notification, social media, they're very happy that this is going to happen here. It'll take a burden off of some of our taxes that people still want the services, and it'll be another line in the sand, if you will, for buffering future development demands that will come inevitably. So I'm pleased to make the motion to accept the staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I'll just keep it short and echo some of those. No, I want to thank the Bax family for choosing Martin County and staying with this long process. And you put together a great team, and all staff for working so diligently, in even all the community input on this project. That this is the way the process is supposed to work, and I think the process has worked really well. It's going to be an asset for Martin County. Mr. Overdorf made a really good point that I had not thought of earlier when he talked about the South Florida water management and the seeds for the exotics. We'd like to preserve and acquire land, but it is very difficult to maintain. And I don't think that the county and in the state, we just have limited resources, and it's hard for us to maintain it at a level that a private entity can. And I had not thought about it would contain some of the exotics even on the neighboring property of South Florida Water Management. which I think is a great benefit. And if you look at some of the development near there, I'm completely dead set against 20-acre ranchettes that are ditched and diked and bermed, and it's environmentally, I think, the most unsustainable thing that you can put. We've spent millions of, since I've been up here in the 5 years, we've spent millions of dollars retrofitting some of the areas around Trailside and some of that neighborhood. It's a beautiful, beautiful community, but it's not something that I think we want for the vision of Martin County. This is as close as I can possibly imagine to the Martin County that I know, that I grew up in, and I'm really proud to be supporting it and a part of the project. And I love everything about it, including South Fork's ability to have that golf course amenity come back and teach some of the young kids. So I will gladly second it.
Any other comments? We have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Hurd opposing. Thank you. I was actually going to do the school board next, and I just, because I know they had a window, and I saw them just walk out.
No.
I know, they just walked out, though.
Oh.
Good folks. So let's,
Oh,
Crystal Lee
Mr.
Roberts
Chair.
is here.
yes,
While they're transferring?
Yeah.
Mr. McNicholas. Mr. McNicholas. Oh, may I make a comment?
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a plug in for my son, and I was at Hidden Oaks Middle School on Saturday for the Treasure Coast Basketball Championship game, which, by the way, my son in his last high school game, they won the championship, so kudos to him. So at Hidden Oaks, Martin County Little League was leaving the field, so I was able to pop over there and see the McNicholas Foundation's work on the Hidden Oaks Park Recreation Ball Field. It was phenomenal. It's probably one of the most beautiful fields that I have ever seen. So thank you for your participation in that. Congratulations. And bring some to District 2, please.
Never mind that.
Thank you to Commissioner Campy and all the commissioners for allowing us to do that, and especially the school board as well. So that partnership is going very well. And your Parks and Rec department.
You're not on the mic.
Work with. Thank you.
good. Okay. Where'd Doug go? I've lost control. Okay, let's do Department 5, since Chris Lee standing up. Department number 5, approve the request by the Martin County School Board to place a referendum considering a 1/2 mil ad valorem tax increase on the November 5th, 2024 ballot. Ms. Woods.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you, and members of the board. Sarah Woods, Martin County Attorney. The county administrator received correspondence from the Martin County School Board recently that contained a resolution requesting action by the Martin County Board of County Commissioners to direct the Supervisor of Elections to place on the November 5th, 2024 general election ballot a referendum on the question of renewing the current ad valorem millage by up to 1/2 mil per year for 4 years. This request is governed by Section 1011.71, paren 9 of the concerning district school tax. The school board resolution is attached to your item, and our recommendation is that the board authorize placement of the Martin County School Board ballot language contained on School Board Resolution 24-02, containing the increase in ad valorem millage by 1/2 mil for 4 years on November 5th, 2024 general election ballot, which will be provided to the Supervisor of Elections for formal actions. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Roberts.
Thank you. Kersha Lee Roberts with the Martin County School Board. We thank you for this. You know, our first time to have this on the ballot was in 2018, and that provided some money that was primarily for teachers to help increase our pay that we gave to teachers to make us competitive in our regional labor market. We collected in 2018, 19, 20, and 21. We reauthorized in 2022 for 4 years, which authorizes our collections for 22, 23, 24, and 25. Our issue mainly is that if we don't ask for a reauthorization on this ballot, we will end up having, because the rule now is that it has to be on a general election ballot, we wouldn't be able to be on the ballot until 2026, and we would miss a year of collections because we can't be putting it on the ballot and collecting in the same month. So that would be the issue that we have. We have changed the language slightly so that we're now looking for up to 1/2 mil instead of collecting the full 1/2 mil. So every year when we go through our budget cycle, we're very diligent at deciding exactly what the number is that we need, plugging that number in backwards and coming up with what we have to collect. So appreciate that. The other thing that I should bring to your attention is that our last board meeting, the board also voted to allow the 1/2-cent sales tax that was approved in 2018 for 7 years to go ahead and sunset on December 31st of next year of 2025. So that will be over and done with too. Appreciate it though.
Good. Commissioner Campy.
Ms. Roberts, thank you. Being the proud dad of 3 Martin County School District graduates, and I think they are as successful as they are based on the education that they received at Palm City Elementary School, Hidden Oaks Middle School, and Martin County High School. My pleasure to make the motion to accept what you're looking to do.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Now regards to your board.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Now I'd like to go to Department Quasi-Additional Number 1, if we can. It's okay. Request plat approval for Pentalago Phase 2, Project P147-014. John, did that last?
Senate.
Senate, yeah.
Senate.
Oh, that's right, Senate. There you go.
Like the Senate. Right.
Or sin not.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm John Sennett, Senior Planner with Growth Management. I'm here to present the plat application.
Excuse me, Commissioner, this is a quasi
Oh, yeah.
judicial.
I'm sorry, I'm not, yeah.
Come on now.
So anybody that's going to give,
Look, you jump right in.
whatever, get sworn in, please.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are there any interveners?
There are no interveners.
Have you
No-
turned in all of your paperwork?
No mailers were required. I'm filing a copy of my work history and the agenda item as Exhibit 1.
And do you have any ex parte?
I do, they're filed.
If any have been filed?
If any of them have been filed?
I don't have any.
I don't have any, and they've been filed.
Okay, moving on. Take it away.
Right. John Sennett, Senior Planner with Growth Management. I'm here to present the Pentalago Phase 2 plat application. This is a request by Velcon Engineering and Surveying on behalf of the property owner, Tightline Lakes, for approval of the Pentalago Phase 2 plat. Phase 2 contains 16 of the 42 lots in the Pentalago single-family subdivision. Minor technical changes were required to the Phase 2 final site plan to achieve consistency with the plat. These minor changes were approved on February 26, 2024. Pentalago Phase 1 has already received final site plan and plat approval. The site is located in western Palm City, north of I-95 and east of Southwest Citrus Boulevard. This is an example sheet from the plat. The site consists of 5-acre lots consistent with the agricultural ranchette future land use designation. All required improvements and infrastructure have been constructed and approved by the county engineer. Therefore, security and contract are not required as part of this plat application. Review of plats is not required by the local planning agency. Final action on the application is required by the BOCC in a public meeting. Development review staff have found the application to comply with all applicable regulations and the comprehensive growth management plan as detailed in our staff report. Staff recommends approval of the Pentalago Phase 2 plat. Staff recommendation is that the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1. We move that the board approve the Pentalago Phase 2 plat. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Does the applicant have a presentation? It does not. Back to the board.
Public comment, Commission,
Oh,
public comment, Commissioner.
Yes, do we have any public comment on this? Seeing none, Commissioner Campy?
Thank you. Pentalago has had a long history. It was approved, and then it sat for a little bit, and then it came back to life. And I remember it was one of the first things that I had voted on, and it was a unique kind of a project because the lots have lakes in them. And we were deciding back then if the lot lines could have the lake, and we approved that it would. I've had the opportunity to be past the project. It is beautifully done. It's high quality. The homes are very pretty. It's a first-class quality project. So for people that are moving into it, they'll have a beautiful neighborhood. And from our perspective, it's a nice addition to Martin County. So my pleasure to accept staff's recommendation, make a motion to accept staff's recommendation. I appreciate that they are here. He's been here from the very beginning, and he's a great guy. Thank you.
Okay. And we did ask for public comment already, right? Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Back to work, yeah.
Nice job, Johnson.
Now we're down to Department Quasi-Judicial Number 2, request plat approval for Discovery Plan Unit Development, PUD, Project H123-027, Brian Ingham.
Commissioner,
away.
this is
Oh,
a
no, you can't.
quasi-judicial
You got to
as well.
stand, and anybody going to give testimony, please stand and be sworn in.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Is there any interveners?
No.
Have you turned in all of your thousands of pages of?
I have my work history and the agenda item for Exhibit 1. And I'd like to turn in the applicant's work history into evidence for Exhibit 2.
Okay. Thank you. And do we have any ex parte, Commissioner Smith?
Yes, I do, and they're filed.
If any might have been filed?
I'm sure I do, and then been filed.
I've had a few, and they're filed.
If I have any, they've been filed.
All right, with that, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Nealon, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. This is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of Discovery Hobe Sound Investors LLC for approval of the Discovery PUD plat consistent with the approved Discovery PUD Phase 2A final site plan. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities exemption. There were minor technical changes required to the Phase 2A final site plan to achieve consistency with the plat. The Discovery PUD project consists of 317 single-family residential lots and the associated infrastructure on approximately 1,530 acres, located north of and adjacent to Southwest Bridge Road, approximately 1 mile east of I-95 interchange in Hobe Sound. The Discovery PUD plat consists of a replat of all of Hobe Sound Polo Club and Tracks A and D of the Grove Golf Club. If the board desires, we can go through the 79-page plat. If not, I will continue with to the end of the presentation. Review of plats is not required by the local planning agency. Development review staff has found the application to comply with all applicable regulations, and the comprehensive growth management plan is detailed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of the Discovery PUD plat application, and we move the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1, and move the board approve the Discovery PUD plat, the Phase 2A revised final site plan, and the contract for construction of required improvements in infrastructure contingent upon the release or termination of all easements contained in the summary of easements to be terminated. And that ends the presentation.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed the plat because it wasn't available. It wasn't available to me until after 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So the public hasn't had an opportunity to review this plat either. Don't we have deadlines for submittal of materials that are due a certain period of time before the board meeting?
If I may, so we do have some deadlines that requires the agenda to be published 5 days before. There's no requirement for the specific sections of the agenda items to be published. We did publish it yesterday after the county surveyor reviewed it. The board's approval in this action is ministerial after the county surveyor confirms that all the land development regulations, all the ordinances, and all the statutes have been met. So we are in compliance with Florida law, with our regulations, with publishing the plat yesterday afternoon.
If if the requirement is that it be submitted to us and for review 5 days before the agenda item.
That's only the agenda that needs to be submitted 5 days prior.
I think we're bending and breaking so many rules today. I don't recognize my county. No one has had an opportunity to review this, and I don't think that staff has had an adequate opportunity to review it.
Staff has reviewed it.
I said, I don't think the staff has had an adequate time to review it. I understand that there's pressure to move an item because the applicant desires to move it, but that's not a requirement of us. We need to do thorough review for the benefit of Martin County residents, not for the benefit of the developer.
I'd just simply say that it is a large plat. There were some issues that they were reviewing that were purely technical in nature that were on the level of the county surveyor and not on any of the other staff that they were completely reviewed. We certainly appreciate the applicant coming in and our staff to get those final details on there. 70 pages. It was submitted in adequate time for the staff to review initially, but as I said, there were some things that were discovered that needed to be rectified, and we continued it on this agenda with the belief that the technical items would be the only things that would need to be reviewed, not the plat in relationship to the final site plan did not change anything.
Why wasn't it continued in that case?
We did not continue it. It was at the request of the applicant, and we felt that it was, and it's the pleasure of the board to continue to hear this item, but we felt that we could present it to the board with the item that it did not change any of the site plan items of any material change. It simply follows through. The plat allows the land to be sold. The lots themselves. It's the final action to allow the individual lots to be sold. So the zoning was done some time ago. The land use and the final development plan. This simply codifies the final piece of it to allow the transaction of individual lots, which is a requirement by state law. And it is largely, the plat itself is an instrument of surveyors, engineers, and lawyers on the technical details of how land can be sold. That we included it on today's agenda item because it does not change the original approval of the board in any way.
We have other things to do, public comment. I'll wait.
I haven't even called Mr. Raines.
Do your thing.
Are you?
I'll wait.
Mr. Raines.
Thank you. Good afternoon. For the record, Bob Raines with the Gunster Law Firm, here on behalf of the applicant, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We do have a staff recommendation of approval, and we have met all the technical requirements as proven by your staff recommendation. I can tell you that I've been doing this for 27 years. I can't think of a plat that's been reviewed and scrutinized as much as this one has, with continuing comments coming back to an extent that I've never seen. So the fact that it was given, and again, as was pointed out by Ms. Elder, this is a ministerial thing. This is not a site plan approval changing anything. This is strictly technical in nature. So for a public to review it, you can, but at the same time, you have no right to vote no against this if we meet all the technical requirements, because it's ministerial. That's all that matters. So this isn't a thing up for public debate. So with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Frank Gettler to come up. Mr. Gettler, let me just, can you please state your name for the record, sir?
Frank Gettler.
And can you describe a little bit about your work history, your educational work history, please, background?
Yeah, I have about 8 years experience surveying. Graduated from Everglades University, and I am with Velcon Engineering Surveying.
And can you describe the paper I'm handing you, sir?
This is my resume.
Okay, and is that accurate resume as it stands today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I would like for the record to reflect that that resume is included in the packet that Mr. Elam submitted into the record for us. So we do have that. A few questions for you. So did you prepare the plat, sir, that's before the commission today?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with all the rules and the regulations and the technical requirements of Martin County and Florida Statute 177?
Yes, sir.
And in your professional opinion, does this plat meet those requirements?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Frank. So, again, this is a technical ministerial deal, and we have a staff recommendation of approval. It has been thoroughly approved. We have a witness with qualifications who prepared it that states in his professional opinion it meets all those requirements. So we would respectfully request that you follow the state law and approve this plat. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing, jeez, it almost scared me. Commissioner Smith.
I had a funny feeling you were going to do that.
Yeah.
If there's no more public comment, no more staff comment, I would move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Is that what your light was for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like we're playing Family Feud.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we're going to take our closed captioning 10-minute break. Please come back in 10 minutes so we can view this.
Prove it.
All right, welcome back. We are now going to skip, we've not been following anything here, down to public hearing quasi-judicial number 2, because Mr. Tom has to do something with his daughter. Public hearing to consider an abandonment of the portion of the platted right-of-way lying within the Olympia plat. This is for our train station in Hope Sound, so.
It's not an actual train station.
No,
It's
it's
just
the
a historic building.
train station. Yes, thank you for
Clear.
clarifying that, or I would have, yes. All right,
Can we move that one to the city of Stewart? and just
Mr.
use it as the
Walker.
train station?
Yeah.
Commissioner Elise Elder, Deputy County
Oh,
Attorney.
I'm sorry.
This is a quasi judicial.
Okay, so anybody giving testimony, please stand up and be sworn in.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do we have any interveners?
No.
Have you turned in all of the multitude of pages to?
I do
Or-
have a copy of the agenda item summary, affidavit of publication, and my work history to submit for the record as Exhibit 1.
Okay, and then do we have quasi
Ex parte
ex
communication.
parte? Yes, Commissioner.
I believe that I do. If I do, they're filed.
If any, they've been filed.
I have a whole bunch. They've been filed.
None.
If I have any, they've been filed.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Walker, County Surveyor, for the record. Today, we have a request from Public Works Department in accordance with Florida statutes, Section 336.09, that the board consider the abandonment of 5,465 square feet of platted right-of-way lying between blocks 8 and 9, Olympic Plat number 1. If I can go to page 1930, I can show a map of where that's located, outlined in red, right there. The easterly portion of the abandoned right-of-way will adjoin to the county-owned property to the east, and the westerly portion will be granted to the county by quitclaim deed from the westerly property owners, who are Patrick J. and Elizabeth T. Martin. The quitclaim deed will be executed by the property owners once the board approves the abandonment of right-of-way. Section 139.31 and 139.32 General Ordinances, Martin County Code require that any conveyance of an interest in land to Martin County for any public purpose shall be accepted and approved by resolution from the Board of County Commissioners of Martin County. And staff is also requesting permission to initiate a zone change request on the property. Once these transactions are completed, the abandoned area will accommodate installation of the historic Hobe Sound train station that was donated to the county by the Atlantic Fields developer. The intent is to implement Phase 1 of the Hobe Sound CRA Dixie Highway Streetscape project to include the train station and parking improvements. Staff's recommendation is 1, move that the board receive and file the agenda item summary and all of its attachments for the record as Exhibit 1. 2, move that the board adopt the resolution abandoning portions of platted right-of-way lying within Olympia Plat Number 1 as described in Exhibit A, subject with the following conditions precedent, which is proper publication of a notice of adoption of this resolution. 3, move that the board adopt the resolution approving and accepting a quitclaim deed conveyed by Patrick J. and Elizabeth T. Martin. 4, move that the board authorize staff to initiate a zoning change request on the property. And 5, move that the board authorize the chairman to execute all documents necessary to complete this transaction. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Smith.
I do not, and pending public comment, I would request respectfully that the chair pass the gavel to the vice
That's
chair
so
so that he might be able to make the motion.
I'd like to do that.
Ask for public comment
You
first.
got to ask for public comment.
Is there any public comment for this item? Seeing none, it goes back to the board.
Motion.
I would like to make the motion to accept staff's recommendation. This is a wonderful step in a process that there is a lot of folks in the Hobe Sound area that's been working on this for decades. So,
Second.
Great. So we have a motion by Commissioner Jenkins and a second by Commissioner Campy.
Yes.
Any other comment? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right. Good, thank you. All right, consent poll. Mr. Zama, consent number 5, adopt a resolution approving and accepting Southwest Earl Avenue into the county road inventory for ownership and maintenance. Mr. Zama.
Good afternoon, Board. This is a request for the Board of County Commissioners to adopt a resolution for the acceptance of Southwest Earl Avenue into the county road inventory to allow a roadway improvement project within the plat of Henderson's Addition in Palm City. Earl Avenue lies between Southwest Olmus Place and Southwest Sunset Trail, as I mentioned, in Palm City. It was originally dedicated as a 50-foot public right-of-way within the plat of Henderson's Addition in 1925. The roadway was not accepted into the county road inventory for operation and maintenance at the time of construction. However, all other roadways within the plat were accepted in the county road inventory. The county currently does not have legal obligation to maintain it. However, the roadway is in poor condition, and based by the county staff standards within our roadway resurfacing program, the roadway is in need of a full depth reclamation, which is the most costly repair method of construction. So the roadway also currently has a single frontage property owner. There is only one property address on this roadway. And the typical process for the county to accept this roadway into county inventory would be through our roadway MSBU program, or roadway assessment program, if you will. And typically, that requires an assessment to the frontage property owners. In this case, it would be one property owner. There has been a cost estimate for the repair of the roadway, upwards of $83,000. One extenuating circumstance for this condition is we have a privately maintained roadway that is the only ingress and egress to a county-maintained road. I do have a map that was unfortunately not included in the agenda item that shows maintenance responsibility. If you could see, I'll turn it the right side up. We have Sunset Trail up here, which is a county-maintained roadway. Earl Avenue runs north and south, and that's the privately maintained portion. The parcel that legally fronts the property is right here, and that is in the agenda packet. And the roadway is the ingress and egress for Southwest Olmus Place, which is a county-maintained roadway. So staff has considered this, and due to the extenuating circumstances and the condition of the roadway, it serves 16 properties along Olmus, upwards of 45 properties within the Henderson Addition, and for the interest in the health, safety, and welfare of the public, staff has proposed accepting this roadway in the county inventory. It is, a lot of the parameters have been listed in the agenda item. It's a it's a little over 600 feet foot roadway. It's 20 feet wide, which is meets the minimum characteristics for a local residential roadway. There is 50-foot of right-of-way. There are roadside swales, and the county staff is recommending that the board adopt a resolution to accept Southwest Earl Avenue from Southwest Olmus Place to Southwest Sunset Trail into the county's road inventory. And with that, the county would proceed with the necessary roadway improvements. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Don.
I just wanted to add one other fact in that's important to note is that from the exhibit, you can see that in order for the county to maintain those other roads, they've been utilizing our own equipment to gain access to the other roads for maintenance. The other thing is, Mr. Gordon, if you can point out that we did it recently in an STA construction, use that road for construction access, and the contractor's equipment and stuff help to deteriorate the road a little bit more, or perhaps a lot more. And so that's the extenuating circumstances I think it's important to put on the record, is that our own use of the road has contributed significantly to the deterioration of the road, and that's why we're not requesting the normal MSBU route.
Commissioner Hurd.
Well, we all have these conundrums on streets. We all have roads that are dedicated to the public right-of-way, but that are privately maintained. And when the residents ask us how do we get accepted into the county's inventory, we tell them, well, you can be assessed and do the construction yourself and build it up to county standards, and then we'll take over the maintenance of it, or we'll do the estimate, we'll do it, and then you'll pay us back. And it's a matter of equitability for me. I'm still undecided about this, just because I know that I have so many streets in my own district that are in this same situation, and I know we're not going to bail them out. You know, when we do the neighborhood restoration in Rocky Point, there are going to be a whole bunch of people who are going to be disappointed because they're not going to be getting the water and sewer that some of the rest of us are, for this very reason. So I have difficulty picking winners and losers here, and it looks like we're picking a winner.
Commissioner Camping.
Is that
Staff.
Yep.
Sorry.
Jim Gorton, Public Works Director, for the record. We have 46 miles of publicly dedicated, privately maintained roads in Martin County, and we've done previous presentations to the board on the conditions of those roads. This is the only road, this 800 feet of this road is the only road that solely serves access to a public road. So we did look at it from that standpoint, that this one is unique in as much as we accepted Almis and should have accepted Earl at the same time. We shouldn't have accepted a road that has no public access with a publicly maintained road. They should have come as a pair. So for whatever happened back in the 20s, that roadway didn't get accepted, but it should have been accepted.
Don, were you here then? I know you've been here a long time. If Patrick Hayes was here, I would have put that on him.
Commissioner Camping.
Thank you. There's a couple other things to take into consideration. A lot of people on Thelma don't go east on Thelma to Map. They go west on Thelma to Earl and then come into the western portion of Palm City. So a lot of those public roadway residents also use Earl. The staff has helped me in the past at the terminus of Sunset, and Earl has been chewed up quite a bit there. And the other thing to take into consideration is it's just out of the picture. You see the large structure at the end of Earl is a church, but then to the right of it, you see there's one of our stormwater treatment lakes. But that little white line is a sidewalk that leads you to our most recently constructed fishing pier as part of this whole Palm City place. And so I would expect, and the times that I have been there to visit it, that is the way that folks that are using our new county amenity fishing pier are driving down Earl and onto Almis and parking there. So it's another thing, as well as the fact there's only one house that would have to eat the whole expense. And Commissioner Hurd, if you have streets that you have rated in a system of like really catastrophic down, bring them forward so that we can have these same conversations, because these are Martin County residents, Martin County taxpayers. And yes, we can't just pave everybody's road, but if there's a set of circumstances similar to this one, I would be in favor of assisting you in getting those roads done for our residents as well. Thank you. I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, we've had, I wouldn't say similar issues, but like issues in Rio and some other parts of my district. One of the things that I would think if we were ever to discuss the policy again with our neighborhood restoration is that if we're putting water and sewer in and we're getting access, I mean, we literally have roads in Rio that there is no public right of way. The property lines go to the center line of the road, and there's no way to get an easement without them giving up the land. But I think if there's a consideration for giving services to those neighborhoods that otherwise wouldn't be able to get them or wouldn't be able to fund them because we don't have access, that's sort of an almost obvious criteria that we would build into if we ever want to talk about that as a more comprehensive policy to doing it. Because at some point, and I've used this argument with staff before, whether it's a privately maintained road or not, they're still taxpayers. They're still paying taxes to the county, whether they have a private road or not. And I think, therefore, if they want to do it, they want to bring it into the county system, I think we should oblige that and do it and use our neighborhood restoration strategy or just our resurfacing program to do that.
Is that a second?
Second, sorry.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so do we have any public comment? With that, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on to public hearing number, that wasn't a public, that was anyway. Public hearing number 2, Mr. Ash, public hearing for the Federal Transit Administration, FTA, FY21, Section 530, urbanized formula funding. Have no idea what that means. I guess you're going to explain that to us.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ash Beecher for the record, Transit